Wallabies squad for the July tests has been named, folks. Will Skelton, the big behemoth, is back. Likewise, Samu Kerevi. And then Joseph Suaalii, the league convert, has been fast-tracked straight into the Wallabies squad proper. Because remember, they've also named a Wallabies 15, which will also be playing during the kind of November tests window. But we'll go through the squad, the fixtures. You guys can let us know your thoughts on how this squad of Joe Schmidt is going to go. I'm still surprised that he keeps picking Western Force players. The last few coaches of the Wallabies didn't seem to pick him, but there's a bunch of Force guys here, which I'm pleased about because some of the guys are good players. He's even added an uncapped Force player amongst the kind of 34-man Wallabies squad. So, yeah, seems to be building things right, but seems to be under a little bit of time pressure to build his squad as quickly as he can with one eye on the Lions tests, which aren't too far away next year. Forwards-wise, it's largely pretty stable. Fassler, Pollard, and Paenga-Amosa are the hookers for this one. So Pollard is the kind of youngster who comes back into the Wallabies. Paenga-Amosa, remember, he spent a few years in France, and Joe seemed to be pretty happy with how he was able to contribute, especially at scrum time. He's the most experienced guy age-wise of the three, but the three hookers have only got 12, 4, and 11 caps between them, so still not exactly the most vastly test match experienced three hookers you've ever seen in Wallabies colours. Props, Alatoa, Bell, Kailea, Robertson, Slipper, and Tupou. Wallabies scrum has certainly looked better when Tupou and Bell were on the field. There's been a noticeable dip, even when it's been veterans Alatoa and Slipper on the field, so that remains a little bit of a concern. I am pleased with the potential of Kailea. Hopefully he gets a bit more game time in Wallabies Gold this tour. Frost, Skelton, Salakaia-Loto, and Williams, plus potentially Uru as your locks. Uru's that kind of lock loose forward, so be interesting to see if they get him in at number 6 at any point. But with Harry Wilson possibly the captain at number 8, that pretty much leaves Valetini, who's going to play, on at number 6, and then McCray at 7. So the back row, if Wilson is captain, I think is pretty much well settled. So Uru maybe rides the pine, potentially could play lock, but when you've got Skelton there, I feel like if you're going to pick him, you're probably going to play him. Remember, he didn't pick Skelton during the Rugby Championship time because that was the off-season for the French clubs where Will Skelton is playing his club rugby, so I think he was pretty keen to give him a rest, but now we've actually got a proper test window where he can be picked. Wallabies are going to be in Europe as well, so it's not exactly a huge trek for Will to join up with the Wallabies squad, but also at scrum time you feel like he could be beneficial. Just having that amount of weight in the second row to help with the shove could be, as I said, beneficial to a scrum which has looked vulnerable when Tupou and Bell are not on the field, and Tupou and Bell have been kind of only around 40 minutes each game. So, yeah, I think Will Skelton's reintroduction to the Wallabies is a certain welcome return. Salakaia-Loto and Williams and Frost as well have also been pretty good, but Skelton just does have that certain kind of point of difference, doesn't he? Other loosies, Gleeson, McCray, Tizzano, Valetini, and Wilson, as I mentioned. So, as I said, I do feel like the back row kind of picks itself. Joe didn't say that Wilson's going to be captain, but maybe. Liam Wright's still not fit, so he's not in the squad. Apparently he's still been helping out with some of the comms that have been going out to the boys because he's natural at that role. But yeah, if Wilson captains the side, I can't see it not being Valetini, Wilson, and McCray. But hey, Tizzano's been a tackling machine when he has been playing in the absence of McCray, but I just can't see him displacing him. Backs-wise, Gordon, McDermott, and White. That's the 3 same 9s that Joe has been picking the entire time, and there's no changes there. Donaldson, Lolosio, and Edmed, your 10s. So Tane Edmed's been playing some pretty decent rugby over here in NZ in the NPC. So he displaces Liner, who drops to the Wallabies 15 for this one. But partly, I can't help but wonder if Liner would have been getting pretty limited minutes if he were to be playing with the Wallabies, whereas with the Wallabies 15, he can maybe go out and lead the show. So I feel like potentially that's a better one for him longer term. Kerevi, as I mentioned, is back. He's that big block-busting, ball-carrying midfielder, and he just adds a bit of experience because when we looked at the Wallabies squad throughout the Rugby Championship, one of the stats that stood out was just how young the squad was compared to the Pumas, the All Blacks, and the Box. So having the likes of a 32-year-old Skelton, a 31-year-old Kerevi, both these guys, 30, 40 caps, I think helps out. They've both played at rugby at the top level. So, well, that kind of thing rubs off on some of the younger guys. Ikitau, he basically picks himself because he's been class proper X-factor in the midfield with his passing game. Paisami is also there. And then Suaalii, Joseph Suaalii, the league convert. I've seen some highlights from him playing league. Looks a pretty good player, but how well can he take those skills and get back into Union where he does have a background at schoolboy level? That's a big old question. He's on a massive deal. Joe said that he's not been kind of forced into picking him. But the dude's on a massive deal, so it'd almost be nuts not to pick him. And Joe, I swear half the press conference was basically just about this dude. Joe basically seemed to be saying that if he's going to get him ready, we'll see if he's ready for the Lions tour, then he basically has to play now because there's no time for him to get into the Wallabies fold, barring this Northern tour. So, yeah, they need to get to know him. They said he probably won't play for the first test, but they'll see what he's about. And, they've put him on the fast track. So I hope he can hit the ground running and live up to the price tag. He's 21 years old. He's going to be playing for the Tars, but he is, as I mentioned, fast-tracked into this Wallabies side. Other outside backs, Sua'ali could play on the outside backs. He could play in the midfield, really. But Callaway, Peach, Jorgensen, and Wright, those guys have all been in the squad under Joe in recent times. Tom Wright seems to be the preferred guy at fullback. There's no Corambetti in the squad. Apparently, he just needs a bit of a break because he's going back to Japan shortly to do the preseason. So, they don't feel the need to give him kind of a full-on year. Basically, I think it's the same story with what Skelton had in Japan, France. They just need to get the timing right so these guys don't get overloaded. And then Harry Potter, the Western Force edition. He's the other uncapped guy. Can play wing, can play fullback. He's a pretty tall dude, 6'1". What's that, like 190 centimeters? Just a bit under, high 180s. So, he's leapt over some of the other guys like Darby Lancaster, Corey Toole. I would have thought maybe would get a crack, but I know a lot of Aussie fans have been very keen to see Corey Toole get a crack at the Wallabies level, but he is only in the Wallabies 15 thus far, so must have not done enough to quite get Joe convinced that he's the guy for that job. There's a bunch of other guys who did play in the Wallabies recently who are dropping to that Wallabies 15, the likes of Hamish Stewart, Josh Fluke. I mentioned Tom Lund already, Tom Hooper, Josh Canham, Josh Nasser. If you're Josh, you got a pretty good chance of being in the Wallabies 15. Did any Joshes make the actual squad? I don't think so. They got rid of all the Joshes. So, good chance to build some depth. I'm not going to go through the Wallabies 15 squad in its entirety, but it's also pleasing to see some of those guys will be kind of there or thereabouts, getting the crack. They did ask if Suaalii could have potentially gone into the Wallabies 15, but Joe said, he wants to see him in the Wallabies camp anyway, kind of get to know him and, see what he's about. The matches are against England, Wales, Scotland, and Ireland. You feel like, in terms of where they are in the world rankings, the match against Wales will be a pretty tasty one, especially seeing as they played each other not too long ago when Wales came down to the Southern Hemisphere. Ireland are going to be tough, but fortunately for the Wallabies, that's the fourth game in the series. So if they are going to get things kind of cohesive and going, that's their fourth game to kind of get that done. But then Ireland is also in a similar position. But Andy Farrell's squad with Ireland has tended to be pretty stable. That's going to be the old master up against the apprentice thing going on too. England will be a tough game and Scotland will be a tough game. So it's going to be a tough tour, but I don't think, because the Wallabies are being written off basically all over the place. They're going from playing the Box, the All Blacks, and the Pumas, who've been good this year. So I don't know if it's getting that much harder. It's just getting different. They're all pretty hard games. So I don't think it gets easier. I don't think it gets harder. But it is going to be a real interesting one to see how they go. You guys let us know your thoughts on the squad. Where does Suaalii play? If you're a league fan, let me know where he best fits into your Wallaby squad if you were picking it, because I don't watch enough league to have any idea. Apparently he's played a bit of wing and whatnot at schoolboy level, but Joe also mentioned potentially the midfield. And yeah, how important to see the likes of Skelton and Kerevi back. You guys let us know your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. We'll be doing some more squads as they come out. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.